Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the American Corner Facebook page on this beautiful Wednesday. Welcome to the AC Alumni Wednesdays. So far, there's only you and I, Thato, but welcome also to you.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, we are joined today by Thato Rammoko, who's a 2019 Mandela Washington Fellow. Thato is a tech guru who's passionate and an innovator and is interested in creating apps that will make everyday life easier. So in the time of COVID-19, we thought that as the American Corner to invite him as a tech person to speak to us on how to start and run a successful business online during the time of COVID-19. He's currently an entrepreneur in training at Mest Africa, and he's a co-founder of MoveIn. So I'm going to hand over to Thato to maybe say a few things before he starts with his presentation. Over to you, Thato.
Thank you so much. I guess I'll start off by introducing myself. Kalibito ke Thato Rammoko. And yeah, I'm formerly known as the co-founder of Technify, and Technify has been my passion. My dream is just to automate every process that's automatable. You know, if it can go online, why is it still offline? If technology can do it, why are we still doing it ourselves? And basically, of course, get Lesotho, and Lesotho was my target. And one of the reasons why I like Lesotho is because it's a very small, Maseru is a very small community, so it's very easy to reach full coverage. You know, it's if basically I was working on an application. Now I'm going into my presentation. I don't know if I'm going ahead of myself, but one of the applications that we wanted to work on was to improve payments in public transportation. And I just imagine taxing also cash. You know, that was one of the visions that we had. And I mean, how long have we been paying cash in public transportation? I think it's time that we change. It's time we as a society, we move from, you know, one dispensation to another, you know, one way of doing things to another. And of course, we received challenges, which I'll talk about when I go into my presentation. But yeah. And of course, in doing that, I gain a passion to say, you know what, Lesotho is part of Africa. Why am I closing myself into Lesotho? And now I'm going outside of Lesotho because I actually realized that some problems are universal. You know, public transportation, Lesotho in Tetwana, Kenya in Tetwana, Ghana, and if it can work in Lesotho, it's technically or abstractly speaking, it can work anywhere else. So that that's a culture. But yeah. Anyway, happy International Youth Day to everybody who's tuning in. We're celebrating young people. Young people are creative, productive. We have the energy of youth. So yeah, young people and technology are two things that go hand in hand. And that's what I want to promote today on International Youth Day. I want to talk about participation of young people in the digital space and how we can start successful businesses as young people, businesses that are tech-based. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that introduction, Thato. So without wasting any time, you can go into your presentation. Just some housekeeping. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comment section. And then towards the end of the presentation, if it's questions, Thato will answer them. And I think at the end of his presentation, he'll leave his contact details if any of you want to contact him after today. So over to you, Thato.
Thank you so much. Can you please show my presentation? Here we go. So I've titled my presentation 10 Simple Steps of Building Your Tech Startup in your youth, basically. And this is from a Lesotho perspective. And this presentation is brought to you by me, Thato Rammoko. And yeah, a brief background on myself. Where is my... So brief background on myself. Currently, I'm at MEST. MEST is Meltwater Entrepreneurial School of Technology. I've been here for about a year now, or close to a year. I'm about to graduate in a couple of weeks, and this is where I'm working on my current startup. Before MEST, I was, or I'm already a Mandela Washington Fellow, but before I came to this program, I was in the Mandela Washington Fellowship program. And before that, I participated in the UNDP Hackathon for Financial Inclusion, and that is where we pitched the public transport payment solution. And before that, I was in the Vodacom Innovation Park with two ideas. LunchBox and ITMAS. ITMAS is that payment application. Yeah, so this is basically what I've done this is my journey, basically. LunchBox, Events Point, ITMAS, and Technify. So a bit of a background. When I first started in this journey of startups, tech startups, I first started with a food delivery application. And my idea was how Lemosebetsing, and you don't want to go out to get food. You just go online, go into the platform and just order what you want. You can even order with your colleagues in bulk. And that was the whole idea. And then I moved to Events Point, which was an online ticketing solution. I wanted to eliminate this whole buying and selling of physical tickets. It doesn't make sense anymore. People should just buy tickets online, and when you go into an event, they just scan it on your phone and you go inside. And then I realized when I was working on this too that payments is it's at the core of every solution that we want to do. As long as we don't have a good payment solution or good payment gateway, all our e-commerce efforts break in at one point. So we worked on a payment solution, but we wanted to pilot our payment solution in the public transportation. And then one of the challenges that I received was that of trust, right? So I had to establish a company called Technify that will house all those projects. But currently I'm working on MoveIn, which is based in Kenya, or we're targeting Kenya, and we're trying to make renting easy. Because there's a whole lot of challenges when you're looking for an apartment, particularly in big towns or big cities like Nairobi, big towns like Accra, big towns, Cape Town, South Africa, Johannesburg, stuff like African cities. Finding an apartment to rent is a very difficult thing, and that's what we want to fix. So my audience, basically, not just for this presentation, but the target group that I love talking to is matriculants and graduates. I like matriculates and matriculants, basically, in particular, because you just finished your high school and you're going to, go into university, and there you have access to 3 or 4 years of trial and error, plus university resources that you could, use to build your tech startup. If you look at some of the most famous startups in the US were started by university students. If you follow Stanford University, you'll see that Stanford University is home to some of the most influential startups in the US. So I want to promote that culture back home and say if you're a university student, you should be working on your tech startup. Sometimes if you graduate, it might be too late, but if you're a matriculant and you're going into university, it might just be the perfect time. But if you're a graduate, of course, it's not too late. If you have a passion for it, and if you have the means or access to resources, then it's something I would encourage people to go into. So why tech startup in the first place? I mean, I support entrepreneurship. I love entrepreneurship. I love businesses. But I like tech businesses in particular for three reasons. One, that tech businesses are not capital intensive. You don't need capital for material. You just need, as long as you have a computer and you have access to the internet and access to digital skills, you can start your business. You can start building your website, start building your application, and distributing the product is also not difficult. You don't have to open a shop. You don't have to, there are no logistics involved. You just share the link to your website, or you just share your link to your downloads, or your download link, and people get access to your product. And another reason is you can operate your business remotely, right? And which is, now in COVID-19 times, remote operation is something that is very common. People are getting jobs remotely. People are working from home. People are working from, away from the offices. And, tech startups or tech businesses have been doing this remote operation. So yeah, now I'm going to go into I'm going to go into the 10 steps, and I'm going to start at step 0. So step 0, if you're in engineering, there's always a step 0, which is basically the setup. So before you go into your business, you have to assemble a team, right? I am not a fan of sole proprietors. I know, Lesotho, we always promote entrepreneurship, and a lot of people that are going into entrepreneurship, they go into it by themselves. They are sole proprietors. And someone said, if you want to go fast, you can go alone, but if you want to go far, you have to bring people along, right? So if you're going to set the setup for your business, if you're going to start a tech startup, I recommend, this is not law, of course, this is just a recommendation, that you have a 3-man team. And in your team, you have to have a hipster, you have to have a hacker, and then you have to have a hustler, right? A hipster is someone who's good at multimedia communications. They're very good in design, photography, video editing, all of that. They can communicate value through different multimedia. And because I said this presentation is from a Lesotho perspective, you can typically find such people at Limkokwin. That is an institution that is dedicated to creating people with such skills. And then you can find your hacker, right? Basically, this guy is your programming guru. These guys can turn coffee into source code. They don't sleep. They're always these are the guys that build the software. And you can typically find these people at Roma. Once they graduate, they do computer science, software engineering, all of those things. So you can find those guys there. And then there's the hustler. The hustler is the business guru. They're both book and street smart. They must be able to sell. Basically, they must be able to run a business, manage a business, and administrate a business. And you can typically find these people in either at EMs or at Center of Accounting. Center of Accounting Studies, I think, centering. Of course, I'm just trying to say, I'm trying to give people ideas of where you can get these people. So if you can assemble such a team, and you can even be a 4-man team, and then you just find these 3 people, and you be the guy who has an advantageous position, or an unfair advantage, or whatever, and then just find these 3 guys, assemble such a team, and then you're ready. And then your step 1 basically is your problem space. Identify your problem space as where you want to go. An example of a problem space, could be in the health sector, you could be in the agricultural space, it could be, any space where you think you've seen a problem and you want to solve it, right? And then when you go here, you must fully understand and appreciate the nature of the problem. Understand what the problem is, understand how the problem behaves, understand its nature. A problem is a very dynamic thing. It's not a static thing. It has behavior, it has characteristics. So you must understand it, you must analyze it. And then after studying the problem, come up with a problem statement. Mohlala problem statement could be 75% of SMEs run by graduates in Lesotho die in the first 2 years of operation, right? And then after doing a root cause analysis, you're like, they die because the competition is intense. They die because of high running costs. And they usually, these SMEs are run by people who have a divided attention. You know, they're running their businesses, but they're also employed part-time. And some of them lack control and growth structures. So this is a typical example of what a problem statement will be like. And to generate this statement, you know, you have to do your research very well. You don't just put the number and say 75%. It has to be a credible number. You have to do your research. And then step 2, of course, is to find a solution. And the best way to find a solution is to use the design thinking process. I'm not going to go deep into this design thinking, but you know, if you can just Google what design thinking is, you probably find material about it. But typically, you and your team, what you have to do is find a user, a sponsor user, the person whom you're solving the problem for. Find them, find just one person, include them in the process, and then start the whole design thinking process, right? And then at the end of the design thinking process, you must come up with a solution statement, right? Mashallah, solution statement could be you want to build a business recommendation app, a business recommendation and mentorship app that analyzes the market, you know, and provides graduates with valuable businesses to start. And it comes with tailored support from industry experts, organizations, and corporate social initiatives. And the benefits of this solution is access to market analytics for better decision making, access to tailored business support, and access to business opportunity sizing calculator. You know, you can just go on your platform and size what opportunity do I have in the sector that I'm interested to go into, right? Now, step 3 is to build a prototype. I mean, it's one thing to tell people about your solution. It's one thing to say, this is the solution of a problem that I've identified, but it's another thing to show them the solution. So prototyping is our means of showing people how our problem or how a solution looks like. And the prototype process typically involves 5 steps or involves 5 tools. So first, you can just go on dribble.com, right? You go on dribble.com and then get inspiration and say, okay, how do I want my product to look like? And then you take a piece of paper and you take your pen and then you draw the UI on the piece of paper just to sketch, you know, sketch or now but how and at this point nothing complicated, very very simple, very basic. And this is typically a job done by your hipster. So your hipster can do a very good job at this. Hipsters are designers basically, so they can do a very good job at this. And then from your sketches you move to your wireframes, right? Your wireframes typically show how your app, I mean the flow of your app and the data flow, and you can use whimsical.com for it. And then after wireframes, you move on to your mockups. Your mockups are, so wireframes are more black and white. They're just a logical flow of your app. And then once you go move into your mockup, you bring life into it. You bring your brand identity. You bring your, you know, your color to it. You bring your maybe not animations, but how you bring the look and feel of the app into your prototype. And you can use Adobe XD or Photoshop or whatever design tools that you have access to do your mockup. And then after your mockup, you move on to a prototype. You can also use Adobe XD to your prototype. So a prototype is simply, it's like, how do I explain a prototype? It's like a mockup, but it has animations to it. It has functionality to it. It has basic functionality to it. You can move from one screen to another so that you get the experience of, you know, the full experience of how your app will be like. Yeah. This is very interesting. I've never done a presentation online before, so not having interaction is very interesting. So I don't know if there's any questions so far. I'm looking at my comments, looking at my chats.
There's no comments yet, but if you want me to unmute my video to interact with you, then I can absolutely do that.
All right. That will help. So far, we've hit 20
yes,
minutes,
20
and
minutes into the presentation.
I'm only at step 3. Interesting. All right. Okay. So step number 4. So after building your prototype, step 4, basically you have to test your prototype with your users, right? So you take your app to people who would, basically the people you're building your app for. So in my example, building that payment solution for the public transportation, we had built our prototype, and now we had to go engage with the taxi association and say, hey, this is an app that we want passengers to use, and your drivers to use. And it was a very interesting experience because, first of all, yes, you have to plan your testing very well. You don't want to test it at a large scale, because if it fails, people are going to be like, oh, exactly. So you have to find just one person, test it with one taxi, maybe find 15 people who are going to use this thing. And testing must happen in the right context, in the environment where the app is going to work. So in our testing plans, we wanted to actually test Roma. If you're going to go to Roma, how you commit from Roma to to home, use our app and pay for your trip, basically. Yeah, it was an interesting time. Okay, step number 5. So step number 5, this is building your business model, right? At the end of the day, it's not a hobby. You're not building something that's going to stay in your laptop and nobody gets to, it doesn't generate any money. So you have to build a business model around it. You have to ask yourself, what value am I creating, right? Am I creating a content? Is my value content, or is my value a tool that people will use to achieve a particular task? Or is it a certain combination of tools? Is it a toolbox where I can find, a number of tools that I will use, together to do a particular task? Or is it just a platform that connects me with people? Is it a platform where buyers connect with sellers? Or is it a channel that I can use to advertise, or people that can advertisers can use to reach a market? And then you ask yourself, how am I going to distribute this value, right? Am I going to distribute this value via email, or am I going to build an app? Am I going to build a website for it? Am I going to build, does it require a device? Am I going to sell a device that people are going to engage with it? For instance, in our taxi payment solution, we realized that some people don't have smartphones. So how do we cater for people who don't have smartphones? How are they going to pay? Because we're creating an app. So we're creating an app. If you don't have a smartphone, you're already excluded. So we needed to find a way to include everybody, whether you have a smartphone or not. How do we enable you to pay for your trip without cash? And it was a very interesting solution.
Can you share the solution with us?
I'm not in liberty to, but I think it was online, because we did. I'm not very sure if I can or cannot, but you can go look at the UNDP archives. If you look at what's this thing? UNDP Hackathon Lesotho 2017, I think. 2018. Okay. Yes, I think at least that information is public, so it won't get me into trouble.
No problem.
And then you have to decide, okay, how do I charge? Do I charge per click? Do I charge per user? Do I charge per month? Do I charge usage rate? So the different business or revenue models that you must decide how you're going to make money from your app, right? And this is typically done by your hustler, so continuing with my 3, the hipster hustler, this is the hustler's job, Okay. So usually when people present their business, if I'm a technical person and I present my business, I don't present the key business things and then I just lose the business people, and then I just become too technical. But if you send the hipster to go present your business, they're just gonna make very beautiful slides, they're very flashy, the slide presentation will be very dope, but then the business content will be lacking. So this 3 people makes it a very solid team, and you can defend your business, you can appeal to your audience with a very good presentation, and yeah, you have a very solid product.
Okay.
And then step 6, of course, once you have your prototype, then you start working on your brand. Who are you? What do you stand for? Where can people engage with you? You start setting up your social media channels, so you start creating your brand identity, coming up with a name, logo, fonts, visuals, and the likes. And this is where your hipster comes in very handy. I mean, they already know what a brand guideline is, a brand manual is for the whole branding thing. Often enough, when people start their business and they DIY their brand, they just go and
And I think it goes back to what you said about having 3 different people as part of a team, because motho e mong has their work cut out for them. If what I do is designing, then this is what I'll concentrate on. And if what I do is selling the product to the customer, this is what I do. And then who doesn't understand what the product is, or who understand what it is, but who's not meant to design, then you'll see the holes in the design. Yeah.
Exactly. Teamwork. I mean, teamwork is that's the first step. Even in the investment investor community, when investors invest in startups, they always say at this stage you invest in a team. Because this is a new idea, it's not tested, it's not tried. We don't know if it's going to work. A lot might change. So investors first look at the team. Do you have a team? And is the team capable of delivering? And is the team capable of pivoting? In other words, if you go to the market and the product does not work, can you quickly shift to another thing with the same investment? If I give you money and in the first 2 months it's not working, are you agile enough to shift in those 2 months and go to a different product? So the first asset in a tech startup is to have a good solid team. If you don't have a good solid team, chances of you getting investment are very low.
Zero.
Are very low. Yes. But I'll talk to that on my step 10. I think investment is step 10.
Okay.
Yes. And then step 7 is you building an MVP. So an MVP is short for minimum viable product. So basically, you build your product in stages, right? Say a lot of people, when they have ideas, they have grand ideas. They want to build a very, a car, basically. They want to build a car. But at this stage, you don't have the resources to build a car. The only resources you have access to is to build a skateboard, right? So what you must do is, okay, looking at the resources that I have a product vision. So this is my vision. My vision or my end goal is to have a car, right? But the problem that I'm solving is a transport problem. So how could I solve this transport problem with the little resources that I have, right? So that's where innovation comes in, because you're like, this is a problem that I'm trying to solve, but these are the constraints that I'm working under. So you work within your constraints, and then you come up with a good solution. And then using this MVP approach, where step by step, you first build a skateboard, take it to market, and then generate revenue out of the skateboard. Once you have enough revenue, add to the product, and then you change the product into a scooter. Now you have a scooter, now you have a skateboard. Both of these things are not generating revenue. You can either run them in parallel or eliminate the scooter altogether, which is, iPhone always does that. When there's the next iPhone, there's always moving from iPhone 1 to iPhone 2, iPhone 3, iPhone 4. Basically, it's product evolution, right? So MVP, same thing. Start with a small product, and then every year or you'll decide your intervals, but maybe every year you improve on your product, and then it grows and it grows until it becomes a mature product. I don't know if you remember the first version of Facebook. I don't remember.
I don't.
Exactly.
Because it's been changing like that. It makes sense.
It's been changing, but the first version of Facebook was probably horrible. I wish I had pictures. It was probably horrible. It worked. I mean, it did the basic things that it needed to. It solved the solution, and the problem was communication. We wanted to connect people, and the first version of Facebook did it.
Exactly.
Yes, but it may have not done it as effectively as they would have wanted. But then, as time went by, it evolved, and it is what it is today. Right. Okay, so I have 3 more steps to go, and we have 30 minutes. We're 30 minutes in, so let me wrap up and then open up for Q&A. I don't know if I don't see any comments.
No comments or questions yet.
All
Just
right.
a reminder to people who are watching: if you have questions or comments, please post them in the comment section, and then we'll address them at the end of the presentation.
All right. So after building your prototype, not a prototype, your MVP, which is your first version of a product, you have to take it to market and gain traction. So traction in terms of users, get actual users to use your product. You measure it in terms of how many people are checking out. If it is a e-commerce platform, how many people are downloading it. If it's an app, how many people are logging in daily. Facebook, every time people check their Instagram almost every day, so you're checking for usage, right? And then you're looking at retention rate, how many people are coming back to use your platform. Because if one person uses your app once and then they never use it again, then it's feedback. It says you are not able to keep your users. But if the users keep coming back, if one person keeps coming back, then this person obviously likes your product. And if more people keep coming back, it's proof that they like your product. And that is a very good sign that you're heading in the right direction. If more people come back, and of course, if more users come and they stay, that's a very good sign. Instagram is a very good example of it. It grew so much. A lot of people just joining Instagram, and very few people were leaving. Once you have joined Instagram, you have very little reasons to leave. Like, there's no, why do you leave? If you want to try another app, you don't delete Instagram to try another app. You just install another app with Instagram still on your phone.
Instagram.
Exactly. So Instagram has a very high retention rate. It's one of the best apps ever, and they did not get to generate revenue after a very long time. Like, for the couple of years when they operated, they were not generating revenue. They were just acquiring users and keeping them, And because an app is an asset, we all know about intellectual property. So them just letting the app run without making money and just getting users and having high users, the value of the app grew. Yes. So they were not generating money, but they were creating value. Like, the valuation of the app grew. And when Facebook bought Instagram, right, I think they bought it for about 1 billion, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about the figures, but it's like all they had was a single transaction, just once. And all of the money that they put in there, they recovered in one single transaction.
One transaction.
That is the value of software. So you have to decide: do I want to make money now, or do I want to make money later? Yes. And a lot of people worry about, okay, I want to make money now because I don't have money and whatnot. So the moment you think about your own financial capacity, you what do you call this? You limit that, because you're thinking you should be able to solve a problem or think creatively without thinking about your own financial muscle, right? Because there's step 10 where we're going to raise funding. So right now you just focus on the problem, focus on the solution, go to the market and test it. If it works, right, you will find money somewhere. And I'm going to show you where possible places where you can find money.
Okay.
So step number 9, yeah. So you build your team, you found a problem, you found a very good solution, you build a prototype of the solution, you've built your minimum viable product of the solution, you've tested your solution into the market. Now it's time to it's time to go get some seed funding, right? So this is just testing. At this stage, you're just testing the product, maybe with a few people, maybe. Yeah, for instance, if in the taxi example, at this point, maybe I've tested my app routing so taxi tsa Roma se di ntseba, the commuter tsa Roma se di ntseba, and they are good. So now we want to roll it out to all other routes, Itabaneng, Alecele, Khubetswana, and whatnot. I obviously need money, right? Now I need to build an investment pitch, which is an 8 to 12 presentation slide where I discuss what the problem is, where I discuss what the benefits are. I also discuss what the business model and unit economics are. And then I discuss the market size, the challenges, and the competitors. Who's my competitor in the market? What are the challenges in the market? What is the size of the market in terms of valuation? Is this a $1 billion market, or is this a $1 million market? So I have to discuss the size of the market, and then I have to discuss the traction. That this is the traction that I got, and then I have to discuss the team. This is the team that I have. Collectively, the team has X amount of experience in these areas. They have qualifications in these areas, and they have relationships. So yeah, they have this type of relationships. They are part of this type of networks. So this is where you just sell the team. And then you decide, and then you present to your potential investor why you need the money, right? So once you have a solid pitch deck, you're ready to go and pitch, basically, right? So places where you can go to pitch, I realized that you can try out and go into the hookup dinner. The hookup dinner, Fab Masero is always asking for people to come and pitch, right? And people have been going and people have been pitching, and this is a very good platform. I mean, it has grown over there. I remember my first third pitch. I was pitching. Even forgot what, but it was an app still. I was pitching some app, and that was my first time pitching. I did not win, of course. The person who won actually had a prototype, but they were not pitching a tech product. See, the challenge between me and having a tech product and having a physical product is that when you're demonstrating it, there's no projector. Like I couldn't, demonstrate
your idea.
Yes. And I was competing with Rasta. Rasta o na entse ke a hopola Rasta o na entse ke eng ntho tseno? Di-basket ka mohlo, ka jwang. It was very beautiful furniture. Very, like, all he did was put it there. People touched it, people saw it, people experienced the product, and then he said, "This is going for X amount of maluti, and this is where I'm found." And he won the pitch, right? I was very technical about the product. People couldn't understand the product. They couldn't understand the problem I was solving. They couldn't even see it. So my pitch was very, but that was the beginning of my learning journey. I'm like, okay, so this is how pitching goes like. And then I went to Seed Stars competition. There's a Seed Stars competition, pitch competition. I took LunchBox there, competition in Botswana. So I moved from Maseru, Botswana, got a pitch at LunchBox. And funny enough, of course, I lost the pitch, but they loved the idea. They said the idea was very good, but I need to work on the business side. Like the business thing didn't make sense. Like the idea on the high level, because now I was growing as a hipster. Now my design skills were improving, right? Because I had prior experiences, but the business side was still lacking. That's when I realized that snap, I need a business person on my team who will do the unit economics, who will do the finances, who will do all of the businessy stuff, right? And then I also applied for the Tony Illumilu program in Nigeria, and I got selected, but I did not finish the program because it was a pitch competition, but it came with the condition of training. So you had to go under training on the online training program for about 6 months. Was it 6 months? Yeah, it was 6 months. But I was already in another training program, so I couldn't
take. Okay.
Yes, and also I think ninzi ke le qalong, so ninzi I was a bit skeptical. I was like, Nigeria is so far, what, like I don't know, like I wasn't aware of the opportunity that I had at that point,
Okay.
at the time, yes. And after losing, or after not completing the Tony Lumilu, I told myself that I'm never going to play with such opportunities again. If I get accepted into anything, I get it and I finish it, And funny enough, after Tony Lumilu, I applied for the Yali thing. I had never heard of it, funny enough. Someone sent me a link and he said, apply for this thing. I'm like, what is this thing? Oh, American Corner. Yeah, I've heard of American Corner, but I've never went. Yali, okay, I applied. Then I got in and I'm like, okay, I'm finishing this thing. I applied for the UNDP hackathon. So I was now at step 10. Now I was like, I'm at step 10. I need money now. I have prototypes. I have things sitting on my laptop. I need to speak to the right people. And the right people are people with money now. Because I can share my ideas with my friends. I can tell people this is the idea that I have. But if they're not going to give me money to go into market,
Then it's
yes, So yeah, in Lesotho, of course, the places where you can get support is the Vodacom Innovation Park. I don't know if they're still doing that program. It is THAD and Bacha Entrepreneurship. I believe they're still offering such. So I would encourage young people to team up first and foremost. If you want to go into your tech, build a tech startup, first find that team. Maximum 3. 4 is maybe a bit too much. 3 is just perfect. Decision making will go quicker. There won't be too many inputs. You'll be able to decide very quickly, and let the business decisions be led by the business guy. Let the business guy make the sound business decisions, and of course find mentors and advisors. That's another thing that will um, that kills many young startups. They don't have the right people advising them. So if you have the right board of advisors, they will advise you to avoid, what we call common pitfalls. So if every young person who starts a business commits the same mistake, like if we all fall for the same trick, then we're not learning. We're not learning from one another's mistakes, and that means we're collectively as a society we're not developing because we're repeating the same mistake. Yeah, which is another thing in Kiboni or Lesotho as lacking is the tech culture. Apart from tech, I also do music. I also do hip hop. I used to rap, dabble in hip hop. One thing that I like about the hip hop culture is whether or not there's an industry, whether or not there's money, those people are always hustling. There's always someone who's pushing up content and saying, I have a new song, listen to it. I have a new song, listen to it. So if there's one thing that I like about the hip hop is the culture, is that hustle culture. Mahibia hustle like money. They're not waiting for anything. They're going, buying equipment and for the studio and they're recording. And they're constantly creating content. And if you look at the development, the quality of music that's been created now, there is a collective improvement in the quality of music that we're generating. The only unfortunate thing is it's a culture. It's just a culture, but there's no formal industry. So we are failing to leverage on that culture and create something out of it, right? So in the tech space, we don't have that culture. We don't have a million apps that are just dying. If we can get to a point where we don't struggle with the number of apps that are coming into market, the only thing we struggle is the financing of those apps, that it is a good place to be, because at least we have people. Now we just have to find the right people, give them the money so that they succeed, so that we can build a very healthy private sector full of tech businesses, yeah. Particularly, the good thing about tech businesses is that they're scalable, right? If it works in Lesotho, chances are it works in SA, it works in Botswana, it works in Uganda, it works in Kenya, it works in, Ghana and whatnot. So I'm not a very big fan of promoting SMEs because SMEs narrative SME haina expansion, you know. Narrative SME is building an SME for sustenance, and we already have a lot of people in that space, you know. So the SME space is already crowded. There's a lot of SMEs. We don't need more SMEs. We need more startups. You know, I would rather have more startups failing than more SMEs failing. You know, at least that's what I want to see for Lesotho. I want to see a report that says this year there were 100 apps that were created, and these 100 apps only 2 survived. That's a good place to be at, you know, because then we can gather resources and say, okay, the 98 that failed, why did they fail? How can we help improve?
Help them.
Exactly. But everyone still wants to do the same thing, you know. And I guess a lot of people feel like the barrier to entry is I can't code. You know, a lot of people say I can't go into the software business because I can't code. True, but you don't need to know how to code. You just need to have a team member that can code. You know, so this whole sole proprietor thing that we do, Maseru or Lesotho, it's a culture that must stop, and we must really start to collaborate. Like, I don't see any other way. Collaboration is the only way, and collaboration is not as 3 individuals. You know how people collaborate? They collaborate by doing what we call what do they call this? Joint ventures. You know, I am a sole proprietor, you are a sole proprietor, then we enter into a joint venture. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. I want these 3 people must be very close. They must share a vision. They must, you know, if they can stay together, they must stay together. They must.
And they must equally want their product to work, I think, which is what you're saying, just in different words. Because if somebody owns a product on their own and they just have people helping them, they won't be as invested in making sure the product works. So it makes complete sense what you're saying. We have 2 questions from Melvin Twabala. I'll read the first one. It looks very long, so we'll break it down to see how many questions are in this post. So he says, can you please touch on how you distribute funding? Like you have a group of startups, right? So you got funding from the payment app you mentioned from UNDP. Obviously, UNDP are technically only interested in the payments of financial bit. But after the whole COVID, maybe events are going to boom. Now you want to scale events point. How do you manage moving funding you got from one app to the other? Or are you not managing within group where everything is its own entity? So I think, okay, you can take that.
That's a very good question. I think one of the mistakes that we did with the with the funding money that we got from UNDP was we got funding for one project and then we distributed across many projects, which was bad practice. You don't want to do that because you don't want to spread your resources too thin, and which is the mistake that we did. We took the funding and we're like, okay, we have 3 projects. Let's divide the funding into those projects and whatnot. And we burned through our funding very quickly. Like, it's amazing how funding goes quickly. Like, I think one of the biggest reasons that companies fail is that they have high operating costs, right? So they don't know how to manage their costs. So we couldn't manage our costs very well, and so that's just from a historical from me answering it from historical or experience. But I believe the best way is not to distribute it, but to isolate it. If like Technify, you have a multi-project portfolio, each project must get its own funding. Yeah.
Okay. And another question from the same person, Melvin. He asked, do you think our funding model in Lesotho supports startup culture, or there's still a lot that needs to happen?
Lesotho does not have a startup. Okay, well, there's a confusion between, or rather not a confusion. I guess it's because of where we are as an economy, right? We're not very digital. So everyone has this narrative of startup, but what they're saying is an early stage SME, right? Like you're building an SME and you're in your first year. So that's what they call a startup.
Okay.
So I don't call it a startup because SMEs are different from startups in a sense that SMEs have already found their business model, right? As a SME, your business model is fixed. If you're going to resell water, right? You already know I buy water from the supplier, I bottle it, and then I distribute it this way, right? So the model is proven. So you already know what you're going to do. So all you have to do is just get money and do it, right? So the SME model uses models that are tried and tested. Tech startups don't really have tried, don't really know what they're doing, right? They're trying, right? There's this thing, there's the testing phase. You're building something, you're testing it in the market, you're gaining insights, it fails, you're like, okay, it failed here, let me go back again and try. So there's that part, of a startup that has a learning or an experience, like a startup like experimental. So there's a science to it, there's an experiment part to it. And I think I don't know if there's anyone that funds startups in Lesotho, particularly startups. Maybe it's because of political correctness. You don't want to isolate and say, I only want to focus on startups. I want to focus because we have such high unemployment. So you want to be inclusive and say, and I get it, and I get that narrative, but I think there also needs to be at least one funding partner or funding organization that says, I'm not here to solve unemployment. I'm here to build a startup culture. I'm here to promote people building tech startups or tech products that will, that will scale. And I think FUD is trying to do it. I think FUD is encouraging tech. They're always saying manufacturing and tech, agriculture and tech, tourism and tech. So I think FUD is going into that direction, and it's a good start. But we still need people to train. So if you're going to have a program like tech, like FUD, who's funding people who are starting tech startups, then you need to have a training program that helps people understand
what a startup is.
Exactly, and understand that it is a experiment, like there's an experiment to it. Okay. Right? So that experiment part is very key because like startups don't make money very quickly because there's that experiment phase of the startup. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Thato, thank you so much for this presentation. We had just those two questions. So thank you once again on behalf of the American Konamasewa and US Embassy. And we'll get back to you if we need you to come back and maybe have phase 2 of this kind of presentation. Thank you. And if you don't mind, we'll be sharing your Facebook, your name with people to contact you if they have any questions. But I know for myself and everybody that was listening that take home is of the whole presentation is have a team, a solid team of people who know their roles, with their roles set out for them, and they should know exactly what they're doing. Know your, what we would call in social sciences, your problem statement. So the problem in the market that you want to filter into, and experiment with what you're trying to solve. Experiment, make sure your product is good to go, and troubleshoot in any way that you need to, just to make sure that you can present to your funders in the future the product that's in perfect standard. So thank you so much, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right. I still have 6 minutes left.
Okay. Do you want to utilize the 6 minutes?
All my 6 minutes.
No problem.
Yeah, so I just want to emphasize on the experiment part. Experimentation is a very scientific process. Like, it's not, people take it casually and say, okay, I'm just experimenting. but you must actually plan for it and have a very scientific process and say, these are the tests that I'm going to run, these are my deadlines, these are my targets, and then these are my key performance indicators, so that as you know, as you hit those get the green lights or green flags, you know, you are validating your solution and say, okay, this is a new business model, or this is a new type of product in the market, and we have tested it, it has been approved, and it works. Because a whole lot of startups are going to struggle with what we call trust, right? Because you're trying to do something new and you are young and people don't trust you. So every startup is most probably going to struggle with this element of trust. And one of the way to build that trust is to go into the market and test it and test it and test it and test it and validate it and do it properly, you know? And I guess this is where having, you know, in building your team, having someone who did computer science and having someone who did like software engineering, like they understand the scientific principles, they understand the, not the scientific principles, the scientific processes, or the formal processes, you know. I say it's not a top of the mind thing. I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this. No, it's actually, there's a process to it and you must follow the process. And if you follow the process very well, you will be able to know where it failed. And if you know where it failed, then you have to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, for instance, LunchBox, right? We were doing a food delivery. We realized that it failed because it was very, what's this thing? Logistics heavy, right? People will go on our website and they would deliver, they would order food from our pilot restaurant. So, motho ha na kenya order, like ke thola order, ke founela restaurant ke re prepare order ya me manini American corner money, ebe ke tloa Vodacom Innovation Park ke thola 4+1 ke ya mo nunu ke fla ke nka ka o kena 4+1 ke ya American corner ke deliver. So to the end customer, you are happy that I delivered, you know, your product. But me, operations wise, I'm like, this is not sustainable. I can't. Well, the cost of 4+1, the cost of whatnot is not sustainable. So how do I create good experience for you without incurring high logistics costs? You know, and so you start to think, should I invest in, you know, delivery assets, or should I partner? Right. So because Lesotho does not have, like, we haven't solved the logistics thing. Unlike Accra, Monan, there's a lot of scooters running up and down. Lesotho Aksoboni scooters are going up and down. So because there are no scooters up and down, I couldn't leverage from them. I couldn't say I don't have to buy my new scooters. I already have people on the ground who have scooters, right? So if the market is full of scooters delivering up and down, then any business that wants to, any startup that has a logistics
aspect to it,
just plugs into that community. You get. So there was a point where I realized that, snap, for us to actually move on, it has to be a collective thing. Every sector must play its role. Like, I must technify logistics, I must technify payments, I must technify this, I must technify this. And that's when I step back and I'm like, okay, I think Lesotho's ecosystem is not ready, right? And the reason it's not ready is because of two things. The narrative that we're promoting, we're still promoting a different narrative. So first, we must change the narrative, right? And the narrative must go to Technify, which is what which is why I named Technify my brand. Like Technify, I'm like, we need to move from this way of thinking to this way of thinking, and if everybody can. Exactly. And if everybody can technify their services, technology is a very simple thing. We just plug in. I just plug into your services. I just plug in, and the whole ecosystem will move forward together. So, yeah, that is my vision. That is what I need to do as Technify.
Okay, we can't wait for that to happen, because I think, on a personal note, you've answered why we don't have delivery services in Lesotho. You've really just brought it home to say we have a logistics problem as a country or as a town. So before we solve that, then nothing's going to happen. Like delivery just around town is still far away. So it makes a lot of sense.
All right, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Experience.
All right, thank you. Talk to you. Bye.
Bye. Bye to everyone who was watching. Thank you for watching. Yes, you can follow me on my LinkedIn. Yeah, people should follow me on my LinkedIn. That is my LinkedIn details.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.